Davy V, David Vara, is an activist fellow you probably heard of. He, over the last handful of years, has made a little bit of a name for himself, not always a positive name, by taking videos and putting them up online. He, if I may characterize it loosely and casually, he hates the cops. And so he's always on some crusade against some cop or some politician or whatever like that. And at any rate, he has posted a video, and I haven't linked to it, I haven't reposted it or anything else like that. I don't think that there's any conduct in the video that deserves any kind of sanction or chewing out, or I don't think anything wrong happens in the video. But I want to describe it and talk about it for half a moment nonetheless. It was taken, by looking at things, I presume that it was on Park Avenue, and I presume it was Saturday in the early evening after the Park Avenue Festival had closed for the day. I say that because in the background of the video, first of all, it's still daylight. In the background of the video, you see all these little white tents that are along the side of the street, and they are all closed off. They have closed down. And that makes me think it was Saturday night. If it was Sunday night, they don't close down, they tear down. So, and it's still daylight. And what's happened is, as you see in the screen, there's a Rochester Police Department pickup truck, right? And a young man, Caucasian, 20s or 30s, is standing there leaning against the right rear quarter panel, if you will, of the pickup truck. And directly in front of him, with his arms folded over his chest, fairly close in on him, is a Rochester police officer who seems to be fairly angry. There is a tone in the voice. What's happened, you gather from context, is that this man had been in the street. He may have been like dancing in the street, and the pickup truck, Rochester Police pickup truck, seems to have been coming down the road, or the street rather, and this young man was in the way. So, and this portion is off camera. We don't know what he was doing in the road or whatever, but the officer disembarks the vehicle, and apparently brings this guy around to the side, and is dressing him down in a pretty rigorous fashion. So the guy stands there, and he's not putting up any fuss or anything else like that, but the cop is berating him, and in the course of doing so, the officer another officer comes over and gets the guy's driver's license, and takes it off to go I guess call in and see if there are any warrants or anything on this guy. And so the officer there, who has him up against the side of the pickup truck, has got to fill time, and he does so with this very angry tirade about you stood in front of my truck and I'm going to take you to jail. But as the cop there is talking to him, the cop uses the F word repeatedly, and in a very angry tone, and in a loud tone of voice, so it was audible to passersby. And also, in as much as you are watching this, on somebody's cell phone video, he was doing it in front of that one camera, and as that camera occasionally pans to the left, you can see that someone who's standing just past the end of the police pickup truck and is holding at mid-chest level an SLR, single lens reflex digital camera, which is being pointed at the officer, and one presumes that is in video record mode. And so you're on two cameras. One, if you haven't checked behind you, maybe you don't see, but one is directly at your left. But you're the cop, and you're there in Park Avenue, and you've got this guy up against the car, and his incident offense, the thing that brought him to your attention is he was dancing in the street in front of your truck. And now you, in an angry tone of voice, are standing there, your hands over your chest, leaning way into his personal space. And I understand you maintain, you order and sometimes do that through intimidation or whatever. And at one point, see, the guy has a hat on. At one point, the cop just quick springs over and rips his hat off, And there's a part of me, to be honest with you, in the back of my mind, which wondered if that was done to draw an automatic reflex from the guy, raise his arm to do whatever, and if that might have been, you raise your arm on me, I don't know. But so he rips the hat off the guy's head. But anyway, you're standing there, you're on 2 cameras, you're on Park Avenue, you have people standing around, you're there in uniform, you're by a big Rochester Police Department truck, and you, in your angry command voice, are using the F word, right? And talk about how you're going to take this guy to jail, And, it seemed to be like the cop wanted the guy to apologize, but he needed some degree of humiliation to go along with it. And again, I understand that there are dynamics of personal interaction which are far preferable to physical interaction, and, maintaining that, oh my gosh, that's a cop, can be a useful tool, and I don't complain about it. But again, I just wonder, how smart is that to be doing it? The guy did a dumb thing, that's no doubt about it, but I guarantee you that as people walk by, I just wondered, and I to be honest with you, I sent an email, I think yesterday, to the Rochester Police Department, and I just asked the question: is there, I'm not trying to be a crap disturber. I'm not drawing attention to the video. I don't think that the cop at the end of the day did anything, that's worth more than a couple words from a sergeant in his ear about public deportment. But I mean, is there a policy on the use of profanity and the F word? And again, I can understand as a tool or means of intimidation that there are times when that's useful. Intimidation is a tool of force. And sometimes in law enforcement, obviously, you need to use tools of force. And if your voice and your demeanor can do it, as opposed to hands-on, everybody's better off. And it's obviously the preferable choice. But you just wonder if, again, not sounding like a pansy, but I watched this video and I thought, well, the officer did not come off very well. And probably if I'm a parent walking down the street and I've got my kids with me and I see this, maybe some of the enthusiasm about I want to grow up and be a cop is going to seep out. So should cops swear? That's the only question I have. I mean, you wouldn't swear in business, would you? Would you swear at they're city employees, right? Are there other situations where city employees swear at the customers? Do they swear at the children at city recreation centers? When you go in to get a permit to put something on your house, do they swear at you then? When they pick up the trash, do they swear at you then? And again, I am not being anti-cop or whatever, but just in terms of how often and how publicly would you want to do that? And if part of your job is always trying to act in a fashion that enhances public esteem for law enforcement, then maybe you could do a little bit better than you did in this situation.